Imagine you're struggling to make sense of your taxes and accounting. You find some free advice online. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, it probably is. So today we're going to get into the world of cheap tax and accounting advice, and we're going to explore why investing in sound guidance might just be the best decision you can ever make. So stick around to find out how to escape the cycle of tax and accounting confusion with confidence.
In a world where crushing debt keeps you trapped, where living paycheck to paycheck has become your new normal, and where the dream of retirement seems impossibly out of reach, there's hope. Join financial evangelist Ralph E. Stepp Jr., a man who's walked through the fire of financial failure and emerged stronger on the other side. Welcome to Ask Ralph, the show where real-world experience meets biblical truth to break the bondage of financial despair. Get ready to take control of your money, break free from the financial stress, and align your resources with God's purpose for your life. This is Ask Ralph with Ralph E. Stepp Jr.
Welcome to the Ask Ralph Show. I am your financial evangelist, and I am thrilled you're here. Our goal today is pretty simple. I want to help you break free from the cycle of tax and accounting confusion and gain confidence in your financial decisions. And here's my promise. By the end of this episode, you're going to understand why cheap tax and accounting advice can be a trap and how investing in quality advice can transform your financial future. So today, we're talking about something super important for anyone seeking financial freedom. We're going to explore the hidden cost of cheap advice and why investing in professional guidance might be the key to achieving your financial goals. I'm going to talk about the pain points of navigating free, cheap tax and accounting advice and the complexities of just about doing that. And I'm going to provide you with practical steps to move beyond them. So stay engaged because this episode is going to empower you to make informed financial decisions. Now, yesterday we talked about the taxpayer's advocate. It was a real practical discussion and how they can help you. We discussed how this valuable resource can assist you with tax issues and provide a lifeline for those in need. So if you missed it, you can catch up by visiting AskRalph.com, where you'll find all of our episodes. Well, let's get started with today's question. Today's question comes from Ann, and this is what Ann writes. She says, Ralph, I'm overwhelmed with my taxes and accounting. I've been using free advice, but keep making mistakes. The IRS is sending me notices, and I'm worried about penalties and audits. I spent hours online reading blogs, watching YouTube videos, and using free tax software, but I'm still confused and I am overwhelmed. Every time I think I've got it figured out, I realize I've made a mistake or missed something important. I feel like I'm drowning in a sea of numbers and regulations, and I don't know where to turn. Is it really worth investing in a professional advisor, or should I keep trying to make do with what I can find for free? I'm emotional and exhausted, and I need some clear guidance. Well, Ann, thank you so much for sharing your story, and I can feel the weight of your struggle, that annoyance and the issues that you're having, and I want you to know that you're not alone in this. Many people find themselves in similar situations trying to navigate the complexities of tax and accounting with limited resources. The temptation to opt for the cheapest advice is understandable, I get it, but it's important to realize that cheap advice often comes with some hidden costs, and that's exactly what I'm going to explore today. I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of cheap tax and accounting advice, and I'm going to provide you with some concrete steps to help you make the best decision for your financial well-being. And don't forget, you can submit your question just like Ann did by going to justaskralph.com, because here's the truth. I love answering your questions, and it's my goal to help you find the answers you need. Well, let's get started with a Bible verse. We always like to ground ourselves in Scripture. And today's Bible verse comes to us from the book of Proverbs, chapter 15, verse 22, and it says this: Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. And I talk about this on the show all the time because this verse highlights the importance of seeking wise counsel. And this is especially important when we're looking at tax and accounting matters. Having the right advice can make all the difference. Having the wrong advice can make a huge problem for you. So let's consider this verse as we discuss the value of tax and accounting advice. And I just want to start by saying this. Thank you so much for joining me. I am grateful for the opportunity to share my experience and my knowledge with you. The Lord has given me the privilege of helping many people just like you and overcome their tax and accounting challenges through my faith-based principles and my faith-based approach. So I am thankful for the wisdom found in the scripture. I like when it talks about seeking wise counsel, and those scripture verses can guide us in making sound financial decisions. So let's get right to it. Let's talk about the hidden cost of cheap or free advice. And see, here's the truth. When it comes to tax and accounting, you get what you pay for often rings true. Now, there is an allure of free or cheap advice, and that's understandable. But you have to understand that that free or cheap advice often comes with significant hidden costs that can outweigh any initial savings. Yeah, you might be not paying for something, but what is it costing you? And that's exactly what I want to start by talking about. The first thing is the cost of mistakes. One of the most significant hidden costs of cheap or free advice is the cost of making mistakes. See, tax and accounting is a complex field with intricate rules and regulations, and a single mistake can lead to substantial penalties. I've seen these day in and day out. It can lead to interest and even legal issues. Imagine you rely on free online tax software to file your taxes. You input your data and the software spits out a result. And trust me, I have seen this so many times. You file your return thinking, hey, everything is great. Then about 6 months or a year later, you get that dreaded IRS notice stating that you owe thousands of dollars in back taxes and penalties due to an error on your return. And you think about it, this mistake could have been avoided had you used professional guidance. So that's the first thing, the cost of mistake. The second thing, opportunity cost. Now, opportunity cost is something we talk about in financial and accounting lingo, but it refers to the potential benefits you miss out on by choosing one alternative over another. So in the context of tax and accounting advice, the opportunity cost of relying on cheap or free advice is the missed opportunities of tax optimization and strategic planning. Let me say that word 3 times. Tax optimization and strategic planning. So suppose you use free online resources to plan your taxes. You follow the basic advice provided, but you miss out on advanced tax strategies that could save you thousands of dollars. And that's where somebody like myself comes in, a tax pro. A professional tax advisor could have identified these strategies and helped you maximize your tax savings. So the potential opportunity cost here is the potential tax savings you missed out on. Just yesterday, I was doing a tax return for a client. When we got done the tax return preparation, I said, hey, let's take a look at what's going to happen next year. In this particular case, this client lost his wife 2 years ago, a very sad situation. So he was afforded the ability to file as what's called a qualifying widower for 2 years. But now moving into the next year, he's not going to do that. And that's going to have a significant impact on his tax return. Now, he could have gone online and found, what's the filing status going to be? What's that going to look like? But we were able, because I'm a tax professional, this is what I do every day. We were able to build a model, and he was able to move into a better understanding. Now, in his case, one of the things that I found that he could do was maximize his 401k, and that would potentially save him money. It was a $2,000 potential tax savings because it wasn't just some online free resource. Another thing you've got to be worried about is time and effort. And this is one that cannot be undersold. The truth is, cheap or free advice often requires a significant investment of time and effort on your part. I've heard it said time and times again, you either pay with your money or you pay with your time. And in this case, you've got to sift through mountains of information. You got to verify it's accurate and then apply it to your unique situation. And as you've said so eloquently in your letter today, this can be a time-consuming and stressful process. Think about it if you will. Imagine spending hours researching tax deductions only to find out later that you missed a crucial deduction that it could have significantly lowered your tax bill. You got to really weigh this time and effort you spent could have been better used elsewhere, maybe focusing on your business or spending time with your family. So that's one of the real big things to consider. Another thing you've got to consider is the emotional toll. The emotional toll of dealing with tax and accounting issues can be substantial. Hey, I just wrapped up somebody's taxes this weekend. They sent me a very nice email yesterday. They said, Ralph, we thank you so much for the peace of mind you give us when we come and sit down with you and we go over your taxes and you explain to us what's going on. Now, the stress and anxiety of navigating complex financial matters can take a toll on your mental and your physical health. And those cheap or free advice, they often lack the personal touch and the emotional support provided by professional advisors. You know, that online software is not going to give you a pat on the back and say, hey, great job. They're not going to counsel you when something's going on. And think about the stress and anxiety that you're experiencing, and you're feeling overwhelmed. You're feeling exhausted. You're worried about penalties and audits. And that emotional toll can affect your overall well-being. It can affect your quality of life. And here is a beautiful truth. A professional advisor could provide the reassurance and support you need to navigate these challenges with confidence. So now let's examine the potential downsides of cheap tax and accounting advice with some specific examples. I just want to drill down to some specific examples. One of the big areas I think that we need to think about is conflict of interest. Imagine you're advised to use a particular tax strategy by a commission-based advisor. You know, there's a lot of these people out there that earn a commission based on these tax strategies. And unbeknownst to you, the advisor receives a heavy commission for recommending a particular strategy. In my view, this creates a huge conflict of interest where the advisor's financial gain might not align with your best financial interests. For example, I had a client one time that was advised to use a high fee tax strategy that underperformed, leading to significant losses. Now, I'm going to use a more simple example. I see this routinely. I see when car dealers offer to do your taxes for free. Well, guess what, my friends? The reason they're offering to do that is they want you to buy a car. It's really that simple. So are they the most well-trained tax advisors? Probably not. So that's the first thing. Second thing is a complete lack of personalization. Consider someone who relies solely on free online resources for tax planning. And trust me, I see this all the time. That person might follow a generic tax calculator that doesn't account for their unique financial situation, such as upcoming medical expenses, or maybe they got a desire to retire early. And this generic advice could lead to some really bad, inadequate tax savings and a lower standard of living. I had a client one time who relied on an online tax preparation service and ended up with a significant tax bill because the service didn't provide guidance on better tax efficient strategies. Like I talked about yesterday with that client that I work with, where we were able to get under the hood and we found a way for him to save a couple $1,000s. Another big problem with free or cheap tax advice, or financial advice for that matter, is a limited scope of advice. Suppose you're using a basic online tax preparation service that only helps you file your taxes, and a lot of them do that. If that's the only thing you do, and I say this on the show all the time, I say this to my clients routinely, tax preparation is great, but the real value is in tax planning. So if you're using this free online tax software, you might miss out on some crucial advice on tax optimization, or maybe IRS representation. Maybe you got an issue, or some accounting services you might be entitled to. I had a client once who relied on an online tax preparation service, ended up with a significant tax bill because the service didn't provide guidance on some more tax efficient strategies. Another thing you've got to question is what I'll call questionable expertise. This is the big takeaway. Free tax and accounting advice from unqualified sources can be risky. I don't know how many times I've had a client come in, they say, Ralph, I was online, I read this, and it said I could do this. And I say, well, I don't know where you got that from, but that is completely in error. A friend of mine one time, he followed advice from a blogger. He found this blogger. He said, this guy is great. He's given all kinds of tax advice. And this particular blogger claimed to be a tax expert, but he lacked any form of training. I think he was an expert on recording blog posts. But in this particular case, this advice turned out to be inaccurate, and it led to costly financial mistakes. It led to my friend getting hit with penalties and interest. And see, here's the thing. It's essential that you vet the qualifications and track record of anyone. And I'm talking about anyone providing tax and accounting advice. So let me share some experiences from my last 30 years of doing what I do. And I had to help clients who had taken cheap tax and accounting advice. And I call this one the retirement account debacle. I had one client, we'll call him James. He decided to take all the money out of his retirement account to pay cash for his house. Now, at the time, James thought, hey, this is going to be great. I'm not going to have a mortgage. I'm not going to have that worry of making that mortgage payment every month. He thought this was a smart move because he wouldn't have to deal with those mortgage payments. However, and here is the crisis of this thing. When I did his tax return, I remember him and his wife, they sat down in front of me. They were all excited. They were telling me all about how they had bought their house with cash, and they were really excited about they didn't have a mortgage payment. So I'm sitting here looking at this, and he had taken all the money out of his retirement plan. I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is not going to be good. So I do the tax return, and they owed a ton of money. I mean, a ton of money. And I told them, I shared my screen with them. I said, look, here's what's going on. And the two of them were just absolutely devastated. I remember the wife just broke down crying. So not only did they have to pay taxes on the withdrawal they made, but they also had penalties and interest. And to make matters even worse, that goal of having a home with no mortgage completely stopped because they had to go get a home equity loan to pay the taxes. And what they thought was a smart financial move turned into a nightmare. I talked a few minutes ago about the perils of online tax preparation. And listen, I've seen numerous clients try to use online and low-cost tax preparation services only to find out later that they made costly mistakes. Now, one client, I'll tell you, this isn't her name, but we'll say her name is Mary. She tried to prepare her own taxes using one of those online services, and she ended up making several errors, and that resulted in a significant tax bill and penalties. And when she came into me for help, it took a lot of time and effort to correct those mistakes and negotiate with the IRS to reduce the penalties. Now, this one just happened the other day, and I'll call this the recent tax preparation mishap. And this is true. Just the other day, I had a client who had tried to prepare their own taxes. Now, they had come in to see me the year before, and they ended up making several errors. They claimed deductions they weren't entitled to, and they missed out on credits they would have been able to claim. So when they came in to me, I had to spend, it was an hour and a half just talking through what they had done. We're still trying to correct the errors, making sure they're in compliance with the tax laws, and the money they hope to save, man, now they're paying penalty, now they're paying interest, they're paying me to go do the return correctly from the beginning. And this may very well lead to audits, and it may lead to more penalties down the road. And my big takeaway here, these experiences highlight the importance of seeking that professional tax and accounting advice. Now, of course, there is a cost associated with hiring a tax advisor. I don't work for free, but the potential benefits can often outweigh these expenses, particularly in the long run. And here's something when I was preparing for the show I found. Research suggests that professional guidance, and hear me on this, can potentially lead to significant long-term returns. Studies indicate that working with an advisor can add several percentage points to tax savings over time. Now, you might be saying, Ralph, why is this? Well, the factors such as strategic tax planning, like I've talked about, discipline, accounting, and avoiding costly errors. And there's biblical principles for this too. Any tax and accounting advice you receive should resonate with biblical principles of stewardship, contentment, and generosity. You also have to think about the complexity of your financial situation. I talk about this on the show all the time. Those people who have straightforward needs might find those free resources or online tax preparation services, they might be fine. But if you've got more intricate financial lives, you may benefit from a personalized sit down with a professional and accounting advisor because your situation is ultimately a little more common. Now, one of the things that, Ann, you didn't say, but one of the things I hear you saying between the lines is something I'm going to say, trusting your gut. See, ultimately, trusting your gut feeling about an advisor is also important. Tax and accounting planning involves a high degree of trust and open communications. So feeling comfortable and confident in the advisor is crucial. Now, I've done shows before about how to find somebody, and I've said this on the show time and time again. Find somebody that you trust, have open communication with them, and make sure you're comfortable with them. So let's take a little bit deeper dive into the true cost of cheap advice, focusing not just on the immediate financial impact, but also the long-term consequences, because there's those immediate things. You might have a penalty, you may have some stress and all that. But here's some long-term consequences. The first thing is financial penalties and interest. Making mistakes in tax filing can result in significant penalties. It can result in interest and even legal issues. I mentioned that a few minutes ago. The IRS imposes penalties for late filing, late payment, underpayment of estimated taxes, substantial underpayment of income or overstating expenses, and these penalties can quickly add up, and they can turn just a minor oversight into a major burden. Imagine you miss a crucial deduction because you relied on a free online tax preparation tool. The IRS audits your return and finds a mistake. Now you owe not just the additional tax, but also penalties and interest, which can amount to thousands of dollars. We talked about this as well. There's lost opportunities for tax savings. Cheap or free advice often lacks the depth and personalization needed to identify all potential tax savings. A professional tax advisor can help you navigate complex tax laws and regulations to maximize your deductions and credits. Here's a great example. Suppose you have a small business and you're using free tax software. I do not, for the life of me, understand why small business people want to go do something for free. You want somebody to come pay for your products or services, but yet you're not going to do that for this. Well, think about this. You might miss out on deductions for business expenses. You might overlook depreciation or get it completely wrong, and you might miss other tax-saving strategies. A professional advisor can help you identify and claim these deductions, potentially saving you thousands of dollars. Now, this one cannot be undersold. I truly believe this at the core of my being. By doing this, you increase the risk of audit. See, errors and inconsistencies in tax filings, they just increase the risk of an IRS audit. And here's the thing, if you've never been through one of these, audits are time-consuming, they're extremely stressful, and they can lead to additional financial penalties if mistakes are found. Imagine you have a complex tax situation involving multiple income streams. Many retired people, many of my more sophisticated clients have these. If you're relying on cheap or free advice, you can end up making several errors in your tax return. All of a sudden, the IRS flags these errors and they say, hey, here's a return we better go look at. So you've now got an audit. That audit process is lengthy, it's stressful, and you can end up owing thousands of dollars in taxes, penalties, and interest. There's also a long-term financial impact. The mistakes and the missed opportunities that result from cheap or free advice can have long-term financial implications. These might include things like reduced savings, delayed retirement, and even limited financial flexibility. Suppose you're saving for retirement and you're relying on free tax advice. You miss out on tax saving strategies that could have significantly increased your retirement savings. Over time, and this is the whole point of retirement savings, the compounded effect of these missed opportunities can mean the difference between a comfortable retirement and financial struggles. So now you've heard the bad. Let's explore some of the value that professional tax and accounting advice can bring to your financial planning. And this is really what you were asking for. And these are my key things that I want to discuss here as the part of the show. Number one thing, expert knowledge and experience. Professional advisors have specialized training and extensive experience in tax and accounting matters. They stay up to date with the latest tax laws and regulations. That ensures that their advice is accurate and relevant. For example, a professional tax advisor can help you navigate complex tax laws and regulations, ensuring that you comply with all the requirements and to maximize your tax savings. Now, here's one that you don't get if you go online for free advice, and that's personalized strategies. I say this on the show all the time. Everybody's situation is different. Professional advisors take the time to understand your unique financial situations and goals. Online free software can't do that. We develop personalized strategies that address your specific needs and help you achieve your financial objectives. A professional advisor can help you create a comprehensive tax plan, a financial plan. It can incorporate your short-term, your long-term goals. Maybe it's things like saving for retirement, paying for a child's education, or starting a business. You're never going to get that from that online or free or cheap advice. Another thing we offer is proactive planning. Professional advisors don't just react. We're not just reactionary. I talk about this all the time. We're not just reactionary to your current financial situation. We can help you plan for the future. We can provide proactive advice that can help you anticipate. And anticipation is a big part of it. Like I did with that client yesterday. We're anticipating his filing status is going to change. That's going to have a trickle-down effect on his tax return, so we're looking for ways to mitigate that. We can help you anticipate and prepare for financial challenges and opportunities. A professional advisor like myself can help you plan for life events such as marriage or divorce or retirement. Maybe you're going to get an inheritance. These are all the things I talk about on this show every day, ensuring that you're financially prepared for whatever comes your way. And one of the big ones, and I mentioned this a couple times in the show now, emotional support and accountability. See, as you so eloquently put it in, navigating tax and accounting matters can be stressful. It can be overwhelming. Professional advisors provide that emotional support. Just like that email I got from that client. She says, Ralph, you gave me peace of mind. They also provide accountability. We help you stay disciplined, and we focus on your financial goals. A professional advisor can offer reassurance. We can offer guidance during periods of financial uncertainty. Maybe you lose a job or there's a market downturn. We can help you make informed decisions and stay on track with your financial plans. So you might be saying, Ralph, what's the bottom line? Well, you ready? Here's the bottom line. The bottom line is that cheap or free tax and accounting advice can be costly in the long run. The mistakes, the missed opportunities that can result from relying on such advice can lead to significant financial penalties. Hear me on this. Lost tax savings, increased risk of audits, and long-term financial impact. Investing in professional tax and accounting advice can provide substantial benefits. We've talked about these, including expert knowledge, personalized strategies, proactive planning, emotional support, and more importantly, accountability. Professional advisors can help you navigate the complexities of tax and accounting matters, maximize your tax savings, and help you achieve financial goals. Well, I know we covered a lot today. Now, if you found today's episode valuable, I want to encourage you to subscribe to our newsletter. You can do that by going to AskRalphPodcast.com/newsletter. Now, our newsletter is packed with insights, it's packed with tips and resources to help you master your taxes and accounting from a Christian perspective. So don't miss out on this opportunity to stay informed and empowered. Well, let's go now and talk about our reflection questions. And I just like to handle some of these here at the end. Number one thing. What are the potential downsides of relying solely on cheap tax advice and accounting advice today? What did you learn today? Think about that. What are the potential downsides of relying on that? Second reflection question. How can investing in professional tax and accounting guidance benefit your long-term financial goals? What can you gain from building that relationship? And number three, what steps can you take to ensure that tax and accounting advice you receive aligns with your Christian values and principles? I always want to bring it back to that because I think that is so important. Well, now let's talk about our key takeaways. Cheap tax and accounting advice can come with significant drawbacks, including bias, lack of personalization, and limited expertise. Investing in professional tax and accounting guidance can provide you with some really great long-term benefits, including comprehensive tax planning, tax optimization, and like we talked about, emotional support. Aligning financial decisions with Christian values and seeking counsel from knowledgeable advisors can lead to greater financial well-being and stewardship. Well, tomorrow we're going to discuss how to budget when paychecks are unpredictable. So join me again for another insightful episode that will help you navigate the challenges of budgeting with fluctuating income. So thank you for your time today, and thank you for supporting the show. Remember, my passion is to help you achieve financial success. I want to see you live out your dreams and grow in your faith. And I know together we can master your taxes and accounting from a Christian perspective. So as I always end the show, stay financially savvy out there, and God bless you.
Thank you for joining us on the Ask Ralph Show. And with a simple click to subscribe, we'll invite you back to our next episode. And remember, financial issues don't have to be complicated. Just ask Ralph. The information contained in this episode of Ask Ralph is based on data available as of the date of its release. Saggio Accounting Plus and Ask Ralph Media, Inc. is under no obligation to update this content if changes occur. Applying this information to your specific situation requires careful consideration of all facts and circumstances, and any information provided is not to be considered as financial, tax, or legal advice. Please consult your tax advisor or attorney before acting on any material covered.